There's skipjack in there?
We've got bait for days.
Hey, it's AJ from Fish Hunt Eat. We're going to start video 2 of our How to Catfish Like a Pro video series. We're going to talk about probably the most important part of catfishing, and that is catching bait. If you don't have bait, you're not going to catch fish. Stay tuned, I'm going to tell you how to do it. So over my 18 years as a guide, the hardest part of my job was constantly catching bait. Bait, especially in the wintertime, can be hard work during certain months, especially when it's really extremely cold. If you learn to rely on your 2D sonar, your down imaging, and side imaging, it can make bait catching so much easier. My absolute favorite bait during winter time is going to be big gizzard shad. These gizzard shad will pile up in just giant schools back in some of these creeks. Also, when the water gets really cold, that bait becomes really lethargic. When it becomes really lethargic, it's just an easy meal for a big blue cat. Of course, their metabolism is going to slow as well, but they still want to eat. And when they want to eat, they're going to eat a big meal. So that's what I target in the wintertime more than anything. I am looking for these big schools of gizzard shad. Of course, that's what I want for my bait. I'm going to match the hatch, if you would, and I'm going to fish with these large gizzard shad. Now, you're going to run into two different scenarios with gizzard shad, it seems like. Either they're going to be super shallow, especially, you'll see in this first video, there was a rain came in, a warm rain, the water, the air temp was in the 50s. We got a big heavy rain and it warmed that water temperature up. When it warmed that water temperature up, it pulled this bait back on some of these mud flats. Now this bait that I caught in this first video, they were in about 6 to 8 feet of water. Makes it super easy for us when this bait comes up on these mud flats. So watch this video, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Good Lord, bring the camera.
There's skipjack in there?
We've got bait for days. You see, that's the beautiful thing about some of these mud flats in the back of these creeks. We're only in about 5 foot of water. And the big gizzards are loaded back here. It just rained. And man, it pulls that bait back in the back of these creeks. Just awesome. Got tons of bait.
Good God, they're giant.
We're gonna put a few rods out and see if we can't catch the big cat. See?
Now in the next video, we had to work a little bit more. The temps had dropped. We had some really cool temps. Got some nights down in the teens. The water temperature dropped significantly. This bait pulled off of these mud flats and moved out in deeper water. Now, when I say deeper water, it could be anywhere from 10 to possibly 25, 30 feet of water. This is where a large net comes into play. Now, if you're throwing a 4 foot or 6 foot net, it's time to graduate. That 4 foot, 6 foot net is just not going to do it this time of year, especially when that bait's in deeper water. Now, I throw a 9 foot joy fish made by Lee Fisher. Now, this net has 1/2 inch mesh and it sinks a lot quicker. And you can see in this video too, we also taped it. We taped the net so it helps to stay open in this deeper water and sink more like a pancake instead of like a bell. So what we were doing in this next video, we were actually having to rely a whole lot on our sonar. We took our side imaging, our down imaging, and we just idled around until we found large concentrations of bait. Once we found those large concentrations of bait, we could drop the trolling motor, go back over them, get directly over top of them, throw that net on it, let them sink to the bottom, and we were catching them. Now, we weren't catching a ton of bait at a time, but we were still catching them. With a half a dozen throws, we could have had enough bait to fish with. So watch this video, you'll see what I'm talking about. Alright, so we're going to see if we can catch some bait today. We're going to try to see if we can find some big gizzards and skipjacks for some winter blues. The bait's not flipping today, so we're going to have to rely a lot on sonar to see if we can find the gizzard shad and the skipjacks as well. But we're going to take a look. We're going to idle around, just look. We're back in a big feeder creek on one of our local lakes. This bait will usually get back in these creeks and just kind of stack up. So we're gonna idle around, look on our side imaging, down imaging, see if we can find some bait, see if we can put a net on them and go from there. Stay tuned. All right, so there's a big giant school of bait to our left. You can see on our side imaging it's to our left over there. There's a crap ton of shad. I would imagine that's probably all big gizzard shad. Now we're starting to mark some more. All right, there's some coming up on down imaging. You can see on down imaging, all the little dots, that is all gizzard shad. This bait's all piled up. There's a couple big fish in there. That may be blue cats in with them. So we can see some more. All right, here comes some up on down imaging. So you can see this bait's all stacked out here, out in this river channel. There's another big school over to our left. We're gonna drop the trolling motor, go back over some of these shad and see if we can't put a net on them. See, this is what I'm seeing. This is right directly under me. This is what I'm about to throw on. There is a ton of shad in here. So let's throw on it and see if we can get some.
All right, yeah, real good. We should be able to get them. I can already feel some in the net. Oh. All right. There we go. Sometimes you got to work for it. You might 3 and 4 them to death. But that's what you got to do sometimes. You just rely on your down imaging and side imaging. When this bait gets deep, it's not flipping. You just have to rely on your sonar. You can get over them, throw, let that net sink to the bottom, and most of the time get them. You can see we've taped our net so it stays open as it sinks. Let's see if we can get a few more. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. I can feel some in the net. Now, Like I said, sometimes we have to 2 and 3 them to death. But man, you can catch bait this time of year. That's the easiest way, is just using your sonar. Look for these big feeder creeks. You'll find the bait. The bait will be stacked up in the backs of these creeks. And you have to look. They may be in 10 foot of water. They may be in 20 foot of water. But you just got to look. Use your sonar. You'll find them.
All right, so if you're like AJ, you know, side imaging and down imaging is cool, but I can't afford it. Use your 2D sonar. I'm giving you a comparison right here, side by side. You're seeing down imaging and you're seeing the 2D sonar. You see this giant school of gizzard shad right here. This is what we're seeing on down imaging. This is what we're seeing on 2D sonar. There's your bait. No problem. You can still get by with using 2D sonar. Let's see if we can find some more. So as you can see in both videos, attention to detail makes a big difference. We paid attention. We knew we had a big rain in the first video. I knew that that big rain with all that fresh water coming in was going to warm that shallow water up and also have a lot of fresh water running in. That was going to pull that bait up shallow. So that's where we concentrated on. We found the bait. One throw, I had enough bait to fish for days. In the second video, I knew once again that the temps had dropped. It had dropped that water temperature. When it did, that bait pulled out. It pulled out deeper. And it's little details like that that's going to help you find bait. Understanding the bait, understanding the gizzard shad, and knowing what's going to move them in shallow, what's going to pull them out deep. Very important. Now, also, understanding what that bait looks like on the sonar, on side imaging, on down imaging, and even if you don't have side imaging or down imaging, seeing what it looks like on 2D sonar. Most all of us have 2D sonar. We can use that 2D sonar to catch them just the same. Side imaging, down imaging makes it so much easier, and if you can afford a side imaging or down imaging unit, I would highly recommend it. It just makes our life so much easier when it comes to finding bait. So that is catching gizzard shad in the wintertime in a nutshell. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, please write them in the comments. I'll be glad to answer them. I'm sure there's a lot more details out there, but this is the main part of what you need to know about catching bait in the wintertime. Next video, part 2 of this, we'll talk about catching skipjacks in the wintertime, which is a little more tricky. So stay tuned. That video will be coming out soon. Thanks for watching.